Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you're with Simon today. We're going to be looking at the new moon in Aries, and this is for the 5th of April 2019. I hope that everybody is doing fairly okay during this cosmological weather at the moment, and all the shifting and changing that is taking place in our internal world and how that's being reflected in the outer world. I hope that everybody is at some point feeling okay. So I've got a lot to share in this video today, and a couple of things I feel are going to be very broad in the context of what I'm really trying to put across, and some of it's just going to be, just some basic astrological sharing. So hopefully I'll be able to string that all together to give you an impression of where my sense of intuitive understanding is, and hopefully awaken something deep within you regarding how this new moon in Aries will manifest itself. So as always, I love to use imagery to awaken a deeper sense of soul memory within inside of ourselves, and to really connect with the essence of life beyond our mental concepts. And so as always, the image that I've got here really speaks to me deeply about the nature of the new moon in Aries. So the rock formation that you see over here in this picture, and let me get my little cursor, is pointing to Saturn, the south node of the moon in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. Now I'm recording this video a couple of days earlier, and before the new moon in Aries actually takes place, Pluto and the south node of the moon will actually make a conjunction in Capricorn. And this is a really, 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 really profound moment in our experience of the human story, because it speaks to a period of deep, shift within our way of being as a human race, like profoundly. And that's why I said that there's going to be some really broad stuff that I'm going to try and bring into this conversation today that's going to awaken something in you, but at the same time, try to keep it very, clear. But to really, really grasp the context of this symbolism at the moment and what the astrology suggests is very, very profound. And I know that on some level you are experiencing that. But this imagery of the rock formation over here, and how it is in some sense, it's existing there, but then there are pieces of it that are smaller, and you can see over there as well. And there's the formation there. And if we go like that. I also like the imagery of this giving the impression that it can be the morning, so it can be dawn, or it can be an evening sun, Either way, there is the expression of a new beginning. So something's on the horizon, all right? There's something new that is emerging within our collective unconscious from deep beneath the sense of immediacy that is in our lives right now. Our minds can only really deeply comprehend what is happening for us in the moment, but if you string the moments of experiences over a period of time, you'll actually see the nature of evolution taking place. So this new moon in Aries speaks to me in a way where there's something on the horizon that is arriving, So you have in Aries, the new sign of the zodiac. And it's beautiful because it's sitting at 15 degrees. And I'll get the chart up for us soon. So there's that. And then you've got the water, right? And the water illustrates to me this connection of Neptune in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, this conjunction. And as I'm recording this, the moon is actually in Pisces as well. And, I can go so deep into this process, and I do want to, but I also at the same time, keep this very clear to me. So take your time with this video, by the way. I encourage you to find a very quiet place to listen to it and digest it. Don't watch it just because you've got something to do or you want to distract yourself, but really sit with this new moon video, because I feel like you would get a lot out of it. So here's the archetypal expression of water and Neptune. And I chose the picture specifically also here with the expression of water because it speaks to me at the nature of how fast things are moving and how uncomfortable it can feel at times, in which the nature of how fast things are moving in a very water nebulous way. And when we try to grab onto things, we can feel that rush of things changing at a speed faster than what we can comprehend mentally, and how we're dealing with that, how we're dealing with that uncertainty, how we're dealing with the rush of energy, like I said, just overwhelming us. A lot of people probably feeling very overwhelmed at the moment, you know. Pisces is the water archetype here. And think about how you feel when you're in a little boat in the middle of the ocean. What comes to mind? What speaks to you when you're in the middle of the ocean, there's nobody there, and it's just you, right? That's a really uncomfortable place. That's a very scary place, you know. We want land. We want earth. We want a place where we can put our feet on and stand and say, oh, this makes me feel safer. And it's something very true about what it means to be grounded, you know, especially in this energy right now, being grounded on earth, you know, being very present with your body, being very present with your immediate sense of self is a very important dynamic to cultivate with this energy, because it can sweep you up very fast, you know. So if I look at come back to the rock formation over here, the Pluto, Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, the south node of the moon making a connection to Pluto, as it interfaces, as it interacts, as the two archetypes blend together, Neptune in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, which, by the way, finished its retrograde period, earlier this week. We were looking at water interfacing with solid, something defined, and the water speaks to me about the erosion, right? The slow weathering down of consistent. Sort of the water lapping up against the rock, and over time it is dissolving this form. And that's how I see this human experience. So that's why I put this quote here where it said, if we want there to be peace in the world, we have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts, to find the soft spot and stay with it. That's the true practice of peace. Now, practicing peace in times of war. What I'm speaking to here is this incredibly deep place within the human collective psyche, in which through separation, through cycles of us versus them, duality consciousness, separation, we have manifested very, very profound emotional complexes that exist within our energy field and within our psyches and within our perceptions of reality, that when we interface with something and we interact with something and we want to try and achieve something, we're on some level always trying to manifest from this deeper place within us that is separated. And the unity consciousness, the reuniting with a deeper part of ourselves can only truly occur when we begin to acknowledge the reality or the fact that what we are coming out of is a very, very deep period of immense separation. And what manifestations have occurred from that separation, i.e. the rigidity in our heart. What's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. You know, there's a very subtle sensitivity between understanding your own personal boundaries, but then asserting personal boundaries that are rooted in scarcity. So when I see this new moon in Aries manifest itself, it is reflecting to us a transitional point within the collective psyche and in your own individual experience, in which the water, in this case over here, Neptune stuff, is slowly but surely trying to erode and break down the collective's defense mechanisms and your own individual defense mechanisms around your heart where you have been wounded. Chiron and Aries, okay? And like I said again, you have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts. So where we haven't been able to forgive ourselves, where we haven't been able to apply compassion to our own rejection and, again, that word is so huge, the rejection of what is real for us over a sense of self that has been deeply conditioned into the psyche of a way of being that has no emotional connection to what's real for you. Okay? And so in this new moon, it speaks to this braveness. And so I'm going to go to the chart right now. So let's just see if it works. I'm going to go to the chart right now. Let me move the cursor. Okay? There's the chart at the moment, so everybody can see that. It speaks to this part of us. Here's all the stuff in Aries, right? The sun is in Aries at 15 degrees, the moon there at 15 degrees, making the connection. And they square the nodes. Look there. There's the square. Uranus is essentially squaring the nodal axis, but so is the sun and moon. So the sun and moon are squaring the nodes. And it points to and suggests to us that there will be tension in which we are transitioning from something that is pre-existing and old and outdated and no longer serving us, all of the stuff on the south node, and beginning to emerge and take choices and actions that are rooted in something more deeply compassionate for not only ourselves, but for something that is more about unifying us versus separating. And here's where I bring the separating, the unification. Look at the trines. That's the only trines, Mercury, Neptune, and Venus. They're all trining the north node there. That's the only trines there, right? In this chart. And so there it suggests again that in a very, very deep level, what has brought us to this point, and again, it's so broad that within this conversation, I can't fully bring to the forefront of what is really being resolved here, but to the depth that I can do it, it is pointing to a tremendous amount of human time in which we've experienced a darkness between ourselves and our heart, the separation from our awareness in our hearts and the awareness in the mind, and that disconnect in what it has manifested. And so we're dealing with a creation of reality that is deeply wounding to the naturalness of what it means to be human. And so here's this quote from Carl Jung that talks about all religions are therapies for the sorrows and disorders of the soul. And what I'm really trying to bring through with that is, here you have Jupiter sitting in Sagittarius at the moment, squaring the Neptune, squaring the Mercury. And so religion is a manifestation of Sagittarius and Neptune, okay? Because Sagittarius is a cosmological truth that we construct in order for us to protect ourselves from the raw impact of the Pisces archetype. And what I mean about the raw impact of realization of what the Pisces archetype is, I'm talking about taking a boat, going right to the middle of the ocean or a place that is very far away from land where you can't see land, and sit there and feel the intensity of helplessness, of aloneness, and how small we are in the context of the magnitude of the universe, okay, of this cosmology. Now, that statement in itself will fracture young psyches that are unable to comprehend that truth. And so protection mechanisms are put in place from the psyche in order to deal with that enormity. It just is simply not comprehensible. So in that statement, I'm putting across also that all forms of beliefs and ideologies and perspectives and truths, including our own relationship to this primordial idea of the universe being so incredibly big, that what has manifested from that and then also the separation. The separation will naturally occur when there's a protection mechanism in place. When you've got Saturn in place, there is duality in that process. And so that duality manifests as a scarcity, as a feeling of fear, as I'm afraid, right? Trust. We've all got to go through those things. So there's an empathy here. There's a realization of what has occurred and what we have done as a human race in order for us to deal with the magnitude of that, and how we are very, very, very slowly being able to, through communication like this, through a deeper inner spiritual awakening, begin to slowly accept and process through and allow ourselves the I want to say the word compassion, but that's not really what I want to put across. It's more like the acceptance of the human experience as it interfaces and interacts with the magnitude that is this Neptune process, that is the origins of life, that is the deeper space, as it were. And for us to reconcile or recommit to nurturing this part of ourselves that from that process, from that action, can lead us to deeper feelings and experiences that will support and nourish connections through the heart in that sense. And that's being such a crucial part of this process. So when I look at this square that takes place here, for us at the moment, it can feel as things are shifting and changing. And it can feel like as things are shifting and changing, you're being made aware of that realm of non-definition, that realm of what was not secure within inside of yourself, that was not defined, that is deeply unknown. And then kind of freaking out in that place and trying to attach to certain outmoded or outdated paradigms of ways of being, roots, structures, patterns, and then realizing in that structure, in that pattern, that it's almost being like it's constricting, that life force is being constricted in that old paradigm, and then going deeper into a state of shock and, oh my God, now I'm being forced out of that place, and then having to jump into that North Node experience and feeling again that Neptunian void and being like, oh my God, Neptunian void, the abyss, and then coming back to something that's dying, going into the abyss, and it's like bouncing between the two. And really, during this period of time, you just need to sit with stillness, because the beauty of this process is that this energy is moving through us to reshape and recondition everything. And it doesn't look at the human race and say, okay, guys, this is going to happen right now, and we can't have this happen because we want to keep you in your comfort zone. It's not happening. So naturally speaking, when periods of time go through like this, when we go through periods of time like this, we naturally manifest certain cosmological truths in order to tell ourselves that everything's going to be okay. Whereas in this case, it's a suggestion that in the state of complete awakening, that the madness that will occur will be because it's just too much. And the therapy that can come out of this place is just stillness, just being completely still with the nature of the energy and allowing it to move through you, so that you realize that what is actually occurring at a very deep level is a new birthing process, a new change in direction, a new shaping of something that in the moment to your mind is going, how is that even possible? But in terms of the context of something larger than ourselves, which is really what we're trying to embody or trying to shape into, that there will be a pattern that will lead us to the next phase. It will move us in a direction that is natural. And that is where, Jeffrey Wolf Green talks about dealing with a Neptune transit, that it feels like you're in a boat, a small little rowing boat, then you've got these two little oars, the ego, and then you have this vast ocean in front of you. And then to make things even worse, the mist that is the fog and the mist that is surrounding the water, you can't see anything. And so what you have to do is put your feet or your rows into the water and let the current move you in the direction that is where you need to be going. And it's not even about where you need to be going, it's just where you are going. And so we are being shaped and moved into a place, but you can only have that in full surrender. Venus in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, a full surrender. And the only way to be in full surrender is to be in deep silence, because the deep silence is the place where you can feel the subtle primordial energy moving through your psyche and bringing you inspiration, swelling you up in a new direction. Okay? So I really hope that this provided you with something to work with during this new moon experience. And, there's something here. I had loads of fun just really tapping into this because I felt it was therapy for my own soul. And so if you felt the same way, please share in the comments, peeps. I really appreciate listening to what you have to say and how your own experience is going. And I look forward to speaking to you in another video, okay? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.